Hey everybody. So we're gonna head to Love Ice Cream today because Minnesota Ketonians are gonna meet up there. This is a monthly meeting that they have, and they're planning on having it at Love Ice Cream this time. So we're gonna go there, we're gonna check that out, and then I have a really great keto conversation coming up after that. So stay tuned. All right, everybody, we're here, so let's go see what's going on. Hi, everybody. So today I have the pleasure of talking with Susanna, the owner and operator of Love Ice Cream. Thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much for this opportunity.
So I want to start by talking about your childhood and
Yeah, the beginning.
the beginnings, yes.
Yeah. So I grew up in a very loving home. I'm born and raised in Connecticut. But unfortunately, after my mom had me, she had been a tiny, tiny person all of her life until I was her third child. And then, life got very, very hard for a whole bunch of different reasons for her. She gained a tremendous amount of weight after I was born. So I didn't, I really grew up in an age and era. I was born in 1964, full disclosure. And that was the era of, oh my gosh, fast food was really becoming very popular. TV dinners, that was actually a luxury in our house. Looking back, we really grew up with some really poor eating habits, to the point where, I remember being on my first diet as early as second grade. I remember always being chubby from my earliest memories. Kindergarten even, just always being the big one, always being the chubby one. Susie always had a weight problem. But it was interesting because looking back, it would be from my Sicilian heritage, my Italian roots, okay, let's limit her to 2 slices of pizza. It was, and let's not have pasta with dinner. So it's interesting that even back then, this very, very, very old school of, okay, someone needs to reduce weight, let's cut carbs, right?
Yeah.
But growing up, I think with my mom's influence, and she meant no harm, but I probably was born and raised into an Overeaters Anonymous home. My mom belonged to OA. I used to go to OA with her as a little child. So just looking at my mom's constant struggles to try to take control over her very, profound obesity that she had. She had horrible sedentary lifestyle. She had arthritis in her knees and things hurt to move. And in any case, I remember starting a teen Overeaters Anonymous group even in high school. But then when I got to college, she never really was able to take control of her own medical condition. She was terrified of doctors. She didn't go to the doctor. She was obese and on again, off again smoker. And to everybody's shock and horror, when I was entering my sophomore year of college, she died of a massive cerebral hemorrhage, kind of in 5 minutes at the kitchen table. No warning, no preparation, and that was just a horrifying thing. I was 19 at the time. And she was gone. She was gone in 5 minutes. It left a profound impact on me. And fast forward many years, I mean, I went from chubby to very large very quickly. I just ate away pain from losing her so young. And there were periods where I could take control of my weight along this journey, but for the most part, I was a very, very heavy person. So that to the point where after my husband and I got married, we were married for several years, we decided to start a family, and I tried to take control of my weight and went on a very, very, very dramatic, very low calorie diet. I was eating about 800 calories a day. We were living in Tucson, Arizona at the time, and I was about 24 years old now at this point. I had blossomed up to about 265 pounds, but through extremely low calorie eating and massive amounts of exercise, well, yeah, I did. I lost 100 pounds. I felt great, but you know what, when you're living on a no fat, because that was, this is now the 80s, 90s, 2000s, just low to no fat, hyper low calorie, and that weight loss did not stay. So I had a beautiful, successful pregnancy. During that pregnancy, started eating. Had our son, and blossomed even after the birth of our son Ian. I blossomed to close to 300 pounds. So I lost all that weight, and I'm going to say in the course of maybe 3 to 5 years, I had gained it all back plus. So it was a very traumatic experience, and a lot of it was pure raw emotions. I mean, I had bad eating habits as a child, compounded with a weight loss diet industry that advocated no fat, pregnancy, hormonal changes during that pregnancy, and then trying to maintain that was totally unsustainable, and it all came flooding back plus.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had still been an emotional eater after that. Yeah, there's a lot of struggle going on in your life at that beginning times. Yeah. A lot of people struggle with that emotional eating side of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember filling out questionnaires, do you eat when you're happy? Yes. Do you eat when you're sad? Yes. Do you eat when you're stressed? Yes. There is not an occasion when there isn't a time to eat. That was just all wrapped up in sorrow and loss and happiness and joy. All that was the way I rewarded myself or compensated
And part of that, I think, the American way is to, when you want to get together with somebody, it's either going out for drinks or you're going out to eat. And then coming from a Sicilian background and everything, it seemed like that was a prominent way to get together with family, and everything was related to food, right?
Oh yeah, every Sunday. So we grew up directly across the street from my Sicilian grandparents, who owned a Sicilian import store in my hometown in Winsted, Connecticut. My grandmother could look at something and it would be delicious. She was the most amazing cook, and coincidentally, my grandfather came from Sicily to Connecticut to the United States and opened up a gelato shop. So we have ice cream making way in our roots. But no, they made their own sausage, they made their own everything, and this was all out of their little store, the Standard Market in Winsted, Connecticut.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward it to 2000, where you were on the playground and you had an epiphany on the playground. What was that?
Right. So our son Ian was climbing on the top of a play structure at his elementary school. He had climbed up to the highest part of an old, teetering, rickety wooden structure that was shortly thereafter torn down. But at the time he was way up high. I was sitting on the bench reading a book, just like my mom would have. never participating, always observing, because she was always too big to play. I was too big to play. So I'd read my book and little Ian would be climbing around. Well, I looked up and he was at the highest height, could have easily fallen down. And I got up, put the book down. Ian, come down, honey. That's too high. It's not safe. Come on down. And he was having the time of his life. He wasn't gonna come down. He was gonna go down that slide, and my heart was racing a mile a minute, thinking he was gonna fall and break a leg or worse. So I ran over to the play structure, and I couldn't get my leg up. The top platform was probably just a little higher than this table. I couldn't get my leg up to climb up onto the platform to get to the ladder to get up to him. And it was just the most horrifying thought that something could happen to him, and I was powerless because I couldn't move my own body. And he slid down the slide. I was a basket case of tears, and realized then and there that I was leading right down the same path of my mom, who at the age of 53, when I was a sophomore in college, passed away of the massive cerebral hemorrhage due to, I am 100% sure she was diabetic, had high blood pressure, on again, off again smoker, totally sedentary lifestyle, grossly obese, and did nothing to take charge of her life. And I was heading down that same path, because now, here I am, my son is 7 years old, and I was close to 300 pounds myself, not being able to climb up onto this play structure. So yeah, that was an epiphany for me. I realized I had to make some pretty severe and drastic changes. I had a history of diets dating back to the second grade. So I knew kind of right then and there, all these things that I've been trying all these years, the pineapple diet, the Hollywood diet, the Weight Watchers diet, the low carb, or excuse me, the low fat diets, the restricted calorie diets, they just didn't work. Because here I was in the same place, and I needed to try something different.
So at that time, what was the change that you ended up making? What was the first step?
The first step is that I eliminated sugars and thought back to my grandparents. Okay, Susie can't have pasta, and Susie shouldn't have, more than 2 slices of pizza, and no bread, no more bread. And I thought to myself, maybe they knew something. Maybe I need to go back to roots, go back to an older style of thinking. I went to Whole Foods, not the grocery store, but the concept of a whole food diet way before it was fashionable, because now we're talking about the year 2000. I mean, this was, quite a long time ago. And eating vegetables and eating greens and eating meats, not just a shriveled up chicken breast, but having healthy portions of meats and having olive oils and olives. I'm Sicilian, I love olives. So it was that whole change of mindset, and moving my body. Exercise was a very, very, very important part. Still, that part of my life when we lived in Tucson, Arizona, the intense exercise that I did was always cardio based. And I enjoyed that feeling. I enjoyed the feeling of exercise, but with the extra weight, when it was coming back, it's hard to move, right? So cardio is like the worst thing to do if you've got a lot of extra pounds on your body. Man, that's a great way to mess up your knees, mess up your back. If you've got a lot of extra weight and you're out there trying to jog, oh, God bless you, So in any case, but I knew the exercise was important. So I started my walking program again. And really started to enjoy how I was feeling. I was eating, just a very sensible, healthy meal plan. I wasn't eating 800 calories a day. I still probably, stuck to around 1,500 calories a day. Those of us out there who grew up counting calories, that's really, really hard. We're all programmed. We're so good at it. You can look at something and in your head how many calories are roughly in there. So that's a hard thing to give up. And it's a hard thing, something that I still struggle with a little bit. I still am very conscious about how many calories I eat.
Mm-hmm.
but building exercise back in. And as I was shrinking, because I started shrinking again, and it felt great. And with that, we all know comes, just an effervescence and you just feel good, and that becomes very obvious to people. So at the gym, and friends started asking, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm eating sensibly. I'm not snacking in between meals, like very important for this body. That whole, eating 6 times a day thing, that was the norm at that time now, and it was like, gee, I don't know if that's right for me, but whatever. But getting back in tune with my body, how I feel, accepting the fact that no two bodies are the same, and being open to trying different things really, really helped. But I then was asked by friends to start helping them lose weight and to help get healthy. And I thought, I really like that. I'm never short of words, as everybody right now can figure out. And I thought, this might be kind of fun to start to try to help other people in this journey of mine. And that reward is that's just an amazing feeling to know that you can help somebody else. And I met a personal trainer in Stillwater who was convinced that I should start lifting weights. Because I had lost now a bunch of weight. I can't remember exactly how many pounds, either 65 or 70 pounds. And I was, again, really focused now at that point on cardio, but I had kind of plateaued. And a trainer who then became a friend of mine, his name is Jeff, said, you should start lifting weights. I said, no, I'm not going to lift weights. I don't know anything about that. That looks really boring. And would tease him, can I bring lavender sachets into the gym? And he's like, no, don't you dare. But he made me promise to give it 2 weeks to try it. And you know what? Turns out I love to lift weights. Yeah. And I never knew until I picked up a dumbbell. I was the cardio queen. And now I've started teaching step aerobics and high-low impact aerobics, and I was teaching classes at the Health Fitness Center at 3M Companies at their corporate fitness program. Decided to get certified in group fitness because I loved it so much. And then this guy Jeff said, Susanna, you'd make a great trainer. And I laughed because anybody who knew me from my past, would like, Susanna, a personal trainer, the girl that would sit on the couch or sit on the bench and read. I'd love to read, just like my mom. And I'm thinking, maybe there's something to this. And I loved lifting so much, and the weight started coming off again. So I researched, took a personal training certificate course, and other gals and gentlemen who really struggled to lose weight started coming to me, and I started training them, and I absolutely fell in love with personal training. I got my certificates in education from the American College of Sports Medicine, which is more medically based training. There are all these different certifying agencies, and I'm sure you know of them all. They all have different kind of sort of emphasis. I've always been interested in medicine and ailments and finding cures for ailments, and more as I evolved through this journey of mine, finding natural cures for ailments and realizing that exercise and food are medicine. And if we can approach a lot of different health concerns from that respect, man, I think we could save ourselves a lot of pills, a lot of side effects, a lot of surgeries. And in any case, so that's how I approach my personal training. In a very short time, I ended up directing a fitness club. I was the director of fitness at a club in Stillwater, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. I love helping people. Yeah. So in the meantime, still losing weight, but also an important thing that I learned too, and I would tell my clients at this time, you know, happiness isn't determined by a number on a scale. For whatever the reasons, you know, some of us may never be that perfect 5'6", 120-pound female, or 5'10", 165-pound male. I mean, for some of us, that's just not what we have been given. But you can be strong, and you can be healthy, and you can be happy, and you can be able to move through space without pain. And these, I have come to learn, are much more important than what a number says on a scale.
Yeah. Any advice? I did a little vlog on exercise, like a 3-minute little thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talked about was how important it was for people in the beginning to at least find something they enjoy doing, whether it be gardening or something just to get up and get active.
Yeah. Absolutely, you know, and sometimes the simplest things, maybe just go for a walk, you know, and if I've worked with some gals and gentlemen too, where really their first goal was to walk from their house to the end of their driveway, get the mail, and walk back in. And literally there are some folks that's an effort, and that's okay. That's their starting point, you know. Thank goodness, you know, they're capable of doing that. So, you know, start with a walk. When that walk to the mailbox becomes easier, then you're going to go down to the neighbor's driveway, and then you're going to turn around and come home. And for folks who are a little beyond that, go for a walk around your neighborhood. I like to recommend that people start with time and not distance. So 15 minutes becomes 25 minutes, becomes 30 minutes, becomes an hour, you know, and when that is easy, then if you're so motivated, go ahead, throw a little pace in there. See how far you could go now in that hour. And can you make that a little longer? But, you know, it's cliche to say baby steps, but it really is, because we just have to motivate ourselves without judgment and without criticizing ourselves, because a heavy person, we all know the stereotypes. We all have felt the pain of what it feels like to know what people may be saying to our faces or thinking behind our backs. Nobody needs to criticize a heavy person, because we criticize ourselves far worse than anybody can say. So be kind to yourself, you know, and make those goals attainable. And for anybody even thinking about lifting weights, oh, don't hesitate. Just grab, you know, and if you can't afford a set of dumbbells, you get a soup can, get a gallon of heavy cream from your refrigerator, a gallon of milk. You can sit at or stand along your kitchen counter and just use some support, sit down, stand up from a chair. You know, that's a squat. That's one of the most important functions that we can do. Sit down, stand up, because then there's the whole component of aging that we all have to be concerned with. And that's one of the first things that goes, is the inability of strength in your legs to lift yourself up from a chair. And then you end up in a wheelchair. So, in any case, I could go on and on. This is a can of worms that is endless.
Yeah, and it's important for people to not blame themselves so much. You know, don't blame yourself. Take control and have enjoy the little steps that you've made.
Yeah.
Every little step is important.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, we're all on our own life's path for whatever reason may be, but this is what we've been given. So for me, so many years I felt like a victim. Poor me. I had all the stuff that happened in my childhood that wasn't good, and you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to diminish it, but at the same time, okay, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to live in that space? Are you going to live in the past? Or are you going to accept it and say, okay, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do today that's different, that's going to make me a happier person, because I want to be happy.
Yeah.
And you can do it.
Yeah, and that's like the end of all of my videos. I always say, do your best to do your best and take it day by day.
That's right.
Because every day, if you're doing your best to do your best yesterday might be different than your best today.
Right.
And tomorrow your best may be different than that. But you take it day by day and you do your best every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to understand. Every day is a new day.
That's right. And we're not in competition. It's not a competitive, game here.
Right.
This is Susanna's journey. This is what I had to go through to get to where I am today. And I can, with full heart, say I'm a very happy person. I have more than I ever dreamed. I could just cry. I have more than I ever dreamed I would have. So it's all good.